So in a football stadium in Houston, Texas, in 1962, September of 1962, the President of the United States, John Kennedy, gave a speech in which he challenged the nation within less than 8 years to find a way to send a man to the moon and return him safely to the Earth. It was a landmark speech, one that's still remembered today. You might remember some of the language in it word for word. There's a bit where he says, "We do these things not because they are easy, we do them because they are hard." Leadership should be about providing and offering a vision. Now, we've got presidential elections coming up next year in the United States. We may have a general election in the UK sooner than was originally intended. And I really want to send a message out to people running for leadership to try to recapture some of that vision that leaders used to offer back in the old days. Having a vision as a leader is about saying or asking the question, where are we going? Where are we going? What's the plan? How are we going to get there? And importantly, very importantly, what will it look like when we get there? You've got to paint a picture. Give us something to aspire to. Unfortunately, for decades now, most of us have been infected with this short-termism, is what it's called. It's about focusing on the immediate benefit over long-term security. And an example of this I would give would be thinking about the way business has changed over the decades. It used to be that businesses were about generating profits that they would then turn around and invest back in the business to help them grow and expand and provide a stable future. But things have changed over the last few decades, and now the real focus of every large company is about providing annual dividends to their shareholders. So instead of investing profits, it's about sweating assets. It's about wringing out whatever money you can out of your company each year so that you can hand it out to your shareholders, which is a new practice. This was not an annual thing before, but now it's expected. That's the first priority of every company, is to pay out annual dividends to their shareholders. Now, how do they do that? How do they still continue to grow? Well, they've got to find money elsewhere. So how do they do that? Well, they lobby for deregulation so they don't have to spend money on regulation. They feature stagnant wages for many, many years. They engage in tax avoidance and offshore holdings in order to avoid paying tax. All of this to compensate for the fact that they are completely focused on short-term dividend payments now. Another example is the environment. And I'm not going to spend a long time going into this, but clearly that is another place where we are trading off short-term gain for long-term security. I mean, we're destroying our environment and possibly the future of our entire species over what? Avoiding a carbon tax? Political horse trading and tribalism? I mean, what are we getting out of that? I don't understand. Just convenience. It's just convenience. So that is emblematic of what short-termism is, and a real lack of vision in the leadership of the United Kingdom and the United States, and I'm sure other countries as well, although I don't have first experience outside of that. We don't think past the ends of our own noses anymore. Leadership is about depicting a brighter future that we can all aspire to, something to aim for. And that's something that leaders should give us. Give us something to aim for. Make us aspirational again. Don't make America great again. Make it aspirational again. Make it hopeful again. Because I think the lack of vision in leadership boils down to a few things. It's a lack of imagination, because we're so focused on the short term and the now, that we lack that imagination about what the future could look like. I think it also comes down to a lack of hope. We are becoming more and more cynical about the future and where we're going and what's going to happen to us when we get there. And finally, I think that there's also a real problem with a lack of care for the future. Not planning ahead because we don't care enough to do it. And that's a sad thing. That's where politics can inspire the people. It's one of the best things politics can do. Think about the things that leaders have challenged us to do in the past. Think about the moon landing. Think about the Manhattan Project and the development of the atomic bomb. I mean, these were incredible achievements, hugely ambitious, seemingly impossible when they started. And yet we did them because somebody inspired us to do it. So that's my message to anyone running for office in 2020. Please don't forget about the vision thing because it's still relevant and we need it now maybe more than ever. Thank you for listening.